Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Amelia Rebecca, and if you're new here, we talk about embodying your confidence, reclaiming your beauty, owning your power, and so much more. And this is basically a part 2 from my last video. I had mentioned that I had taken a few weeks off from filming content because I was not feeling empowered or embodied in my confidence or really connected to my beauty. And I wanted to talk about some tips to basically help you get through and navigate low moments when you're on a trajectory, on a specific path where you're just following your soul and doing what you know to be true within yourself, and things just seem like they're not working out, or you're feeling like a failure, or I don't know, things are just taking a lot longer than you were hoping that they would. It's definitely following your heart, soul is not the easiest thing in the world, but it is definitely the most courageous, I think. And I also think it's totally worth it and rewarding. And, you know, as we've all heard those cliches about how it's not about the destination, it's the journey. I think it's really important to talk about the parts of the journey that really suck, because there are parts that really suck. But I also find that in those moments are just such beautiful opportunities for growth. And, you know, as somebody that has basically committed to following the path that my soul wants to take me on, my personal growth is something that I value probably more than anything else. So in that sense, even in those dark moments, they're so beautiful, because I feel like it is those moments that give us those opportunities for deep healing and growth. I also find it funny, I guess, that, you know, I don't really like to admit that I'm a failure or to talk about my experience as a failure, because I do really see things that don't work out as sort of like an experiment, and then I'm like, okay, well, let's just try something else. And I think this period that I've been going through more recently has been showing me that even the ideas that I've been coming up with to try have been coming from a place that I'm not really in anymore, or I'm expanding in different ways. So I've been experiencing this very like quiet space, because there's something new that wants to come through in a way that I haven't done before. And it's just requiring me to make a lot of space to allow that to come to the surface. And yeah, it's like in that moment, I'm like, oh, I see how sometimes coming up with new ideas is just a way for me to avoid that feeling of failure. And I think it's important to own that, but I still don't believe that anything's really a failure. It's just, you got to try something else. And sometimes that something else is going to take a little bit of time before it becomes revealed, because sometimes I think that life finds a way to redirect us if we're going on a particular path or a trajectory that feels like we're putting in so much work and there's not much coming out of it, or we're pouring our energy and our love into something that's not feeding us back, then maybe that's just not the right thing. And maybe there's something else, and we need to just kind of switch gears and try something new. And sometimes sitting in that space of, I don't know, that liminal space is kind of hard. So I wanted to talk about some things that have been helping me through this process. And the first thing I want to talk about is really needing to know the landscape of your emotions, because I think that's going to really help you in identifying what you actually need, what kind of boundaries you need to set, and what kind of support you're going to need. So yeah, what emotions are you feeling? Are you sad? Are you frustrated? Are you feeling defeated? Are you angry? Knowing what that is and knowing what you personally need to do, whether it's crying it out, throwing something, talking to somebody, or just like having a quiet day and like laying in bed all day and giving yourself permission to do that is super important. But from there, I think knowing what kind of boundaries you need to set and knowing what kind of support you need is going to be really helpful. So, for me, I have needed to have really strong boundaries in place in this period that I've been in. I have discovered within the feelings that I was feeling that self-preservation was like my number one priority. It still is. So I have been really quiet. I haven't really been reaching out or connecting with a lot of people. And the only people that I have been talking to are people that I feel very safe emotionally with. And yeah, like sometimes even with that, you get to identify like what kind of support you can expect from certain people. So I have certain people that I know are going to help me, like lift me out of a dark space and help me see the bright side to things when I have resistance to that, or when I don't really want to, or when I can't. I also have people that allow me to just be in a shitty mood and express what I'm going through, and express that, if I need to throw myself a pity party, that I can express that to them and they can just hold space for that and get it and not offer me any advice. And then I also have people in my life that will offer me advice that I know is coming from a place that they really care and are capable of giving me advice that I will want to listen to. I know a lot of people like having somebody that they can commiserate with. That is something that I really don't like personally, because for me, when I'm kind of in a low space, that's the last thing I want, because I don't like feeling powerless. And when somebody is just like pouring fuel on that fire, it just makes me feel so much worse. It doesn't actually make me feel better. But I know a lot of people do like that. So if that's something you need, seek that out within the people that are around you. Another thing that I find helpful here is journaling, specifically to remind yourself of your why. Why are you working towards the thing that you're trying to achieve? Why are you choosing the path that you're on? Why are you following the desires that you have? And get underneath the certain layers of that desire. So it's like, let's say you want to make a certain amount of money. Your why is not to just have a lot of money. Maybe for you, it's about, feeling a sense of security, feeling freedom, allowing yourself to experience as much joy as possible. So having that money in place will be a tool for that. And then you can go beyond that. I also think that it's super important to acknowledge that you just want that thing and claim that as your desire. But getting to your why is helpful for you to keep going, so that you just don't give up, or you don't throw in the towel, or you don't allow yourself to stay in that dark place and like feel like a failure, because there is something that you really want, your soul really wants, and there is a reason why you're on the path that you're on. So connecting to that reason is super important to allow yourself to keep going. I also think that, well, at least for me, journaling is really great for helping me see the things within the situation that is really hard for me to see otherwise. And so sometimes when I journal, it's just this sort of like cognitive brain dump. And I'm always surprised by what comes through when I'm writing in that way, because it just helps me identify the benefit of what I'm going through in a way that I can't always get to just thinking about it or even meditating on it. So I really love journaling for that as well. I also use this as an opportunity to like lean back into a spiritual practice, because let's be real, sometimes when things are going really great, I don't always upkeep my meditation practice or my divination practices or honing in on my, psychic abilities or something. But when I'm in a low place, I need those things. So I will start meditating. I will start connecting with my guides or my spiritual team. I will pull cards or pull a rune or something like that, and being consistent in that practice just helps me connect back to my intuition and that sense of trust within myself, in remembering that I know what I'm doing and I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. I had also mentioned in my last video that sometimes when I find myself in this place and I really don't like feeling that sense of confusion or powerlessness, I have a tendency to put my trust in other people. And because I'm just trying to avoid that feeling of confusion, I will just ask someone else what they think I should do, and then I'll just do it. And it's not a great thing. It's something that I really don't like about myself. But when I connect back to my spiritual practices, that is me reminding myself of my own power and reminding myself of how intuitive I really am. And it just instantly puts me back into that state of trust and kind of calling my power back to myself. Another of my go-to tools when I'm in a state like this is reading or watching people's stories that inspire me. And for a really long time, I would listen to an Abraham Hicks video. And sometimes I don't even need to be like engaged with it, but there is a certain energy that just helps lift my spirits. And that was really helpful for a while. So listening to things that are inspirational and empowering, but also hearing people's stories. Like I had mentioned earlier that I don't like people commiserating with me. What I would rather do is hear somebody's story that has also really struggled and had a really tough time, but they made it through and they've achieved all of their desires and exactly what they wanted, and they just kept going because there was a part of them that kept believing in themselves. Like that's the story that I like to hear. I also really love hearing stories about like how life just kind of orchestrates things for people in ways that they haven't anticipated or couldn't expect. And I also really love hearing people's stories with their success and manifestation. So hearing people just talk about how they've called something in that they really wanted, and hearing the techniques that they've used and then trying them out for myself just helps me get out of that place of powerlessness and remind myself that we're all powerful. We do really have the abilities to create whatever we want in our lives, and hearing those stories just really helps me connect to that. Something else that really helps me when I'm in this space is connecting to my creativity and finding a project that I can use my hands with, because there's something about having that sense of focus and generating something from within yourself to create something just is so powerful and just helps you switch gears. It also turns your brain off so that you're not, spiraling. And yeah, I mean, creativity is super powerful. I could totally do a whole video on that, or probably multiple videos, because I think creativity is just something that we all need to be tapping into, regardless of how creative or artistic we think we are. Because, I mean, you can really infuse anything that you do with creativity. And another one is getting really intentional with my beauty practice, because when I'm in that kind of low, dark space, I am not really connected to my beauty. I'm not reminding myself of that. So when I take the time to do like a bath ritual, or spend time doing my makeup and doing my hair and really kind of bringing my mindfulness into those practices, it really helps me remember how beautiful I am. And it's something that you're doing for yourself that's just kind and it feels good. So that's naturally going to boost you up a little bit. So yeah, those are just some tips that I have to share to help you when you're feeling low, and to remind yourself to keep going, because you are super powerful and you definitely have it in you to achieve all of your dreams and have all of your desires fulfilled. And I'm rooting for you. And yeah, it would really mean a lot to me if you would like, share, comment, or subscribe to this channel. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.